Today is a special episode. It is one of our Q&R episodes. We call them Q&R rather than Q&A because we don't think we have all the answers. And so we are just making an attempt to respond. So these are questions and responses. Welcome back to the Mind Change Podcast. I'm your host, Heather McKean. Please take a quick moment to like, subscribe, download, and share. It really helps us to create more content that you and the other people out there want to hear. Thank you to those of you who submitted these questions, and we are really excited to dig into these today, so I'm looking forward to hearing them. And joining me is my co-host, Kent McKean.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had a lot of questions, right? There's questions on Instagram, questions on Facebook, questions on the YouTube channel. There's a lot of questions that come in, but sometimes someone actually submits the question the way that we ask, right? Which is sending it to podcast@mindchange.com.
Wow.
And then, writing it out and giving us an audio. So anyways, that's a little bit of training for those who are watching this one.
Yeah, great.
All right, so the first one actually does not have an audio. The rest of them do. So you'll be able to hear those voices. So I'll read this one. It says, "Hello, my name is Carlos, and I'm new to Mind Change. Welcome.
Yeah.
I just finished the book, wrote out my manifesto while already making adjustments, and adding to my GPS every night before bed. Great job. It's crazy how much change has happened already before I even start my pain cure list." That's so good to hear. Since doing this, I have noticed even a shift in my language and wondered one thing. What about music? I know most people would sing songs that match their emotions. Examples would be NF. I had students listen to him because they relate to the depressing songs, or Catch or Grenade by Bruno Mars, or maybe even Happy by Pharrell. Is there a subconscious program happening that tells us to sing along to a song to feel these feelings deeper? Would singing lyrics like this, though not associated to our stories, confuse the subconscious mind since we are declaring those words out loud when singing? Thank you, Carlos. Those are some really good questions.
Carlos, you're on the right track.
First, I just want to applaud, you're putting into practice what you're reading in the book. There's a lot of people that just read and don't necessarily do anything about it. So really good job. And the fact that you're already building up what needs to happen prior to working through the pain cure list. So that's exactly the route you're supposed to take. So good job.
And see how it's opening his mind to other questions. And I love it. So good. Yay, Carlos. Okay. Music is super powerful. Mm-hmm. Saying things out loud is very powerful. Singing them out loud is it's a different ballgame. So he's definitely onto something. I have to confess, I do not know who NF is. I may need to go look this up. So I can't really speak to that, but the rest of the songs for sure. So yes, what we say and what we hear, those are two very powerful representational systems, ways that we input and store information. Singing along to songs that would be maybe degrading to ourselves or messages of self-deprecation, we do hear that. And we don't necessarily think that it's Bruno Mars jumping on the grenade. We think of it ourselves. We associate to that, even if we don't realize that we're doing it. So yes, it's why we're drawn toward rage music when we're feeling, we want to get something out, or sad music when we're feeling sad or introspective. We're drawn to those kind of things because we're looking to, in one sense, almost co-regulate with the perceived feeling that we're having or emotion that we're having. So yes, singing these songs, if they are positive or negative, so Happy by Pharrell, you may hate the song because it's overplayed or whatever, but listen, if you sing it enough and get into the motions of it, you're actually going to feel a little happier because we're saying those words and we're feeling those things, and we attach emotions with words. So the word of the emotion our body and our mind are very like energy preserving. Anything we can do to preserve energy. So if it can sort of think first, almost seems like it's doing it without us thinking or before we're doing it, that's like the brain working at its best. So if we're, out there dancing and singing Happy, the brain's like, okay, we're doing Happy right now. If we're out there singing, Everybody Hurts by REM. Is that REM?
I think so.
And then we're like, everybody hurts. Yeah, you're going to feel it. So yes, now I'm not saying there might not be a place for REM's song or NF, which I'm not sure what they do. But we want to feel our emotions. So maybe if you're someone who is get a little stuck and you know that sadness is an appropriate emotion and you might be having a hard time processing it, go and sing your absolute heart out to a sad song with the intention of releasing the sadness through the song. And that could be such a powerful tool. And then maybe what would you rather feel instead there? And then throw Happy at the end of it, or another one that makes you feel really good. But yes, languaging is very important. And then when you pair it with music and something that's catchy and easy to memorize, that we can pull up. That's why those commercial jingles are like live rent-free in people's brains, right?
Like a rock.
I always think the double mint one, am I showing my age with the double mint one? We can pull them up so quickly and we can almost be right back to where we were like jamming out, watching the TV during that, particular commercial. Sure. So yes, it's a powerful tool that can be used like most tools to help or to maybe not help as much.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, as Heather mentioned, it's important to note like how often we're doing this. So if it's something, as you wrote, depressing, or like if we're doing this constantly, yeah, it will have an effect for sure. The music, the lyrics we surround ourselves with constantly does impact us, just like anything else in our environment would. The kind of people we're around, the kind of narrative that we keep believing or feeling or hearing or whatever, it builds it stronger. The one extra thing that I would say about singing along with these things is when we're speaking from down here anyways, there's a little bit
For those listening, he was pointing to his diaphragm.
Yes, diaphragm. When we speak, we're supposed to be speaking from here, right? Which is, yes, biologically our diaphragm, our center, or even our lower belly. And of course, this is metaphorically our intuition, our knowing, right? But it also is reverberating or vibrating up into our chest, into our throat, all the way down, right? So this activates the vagus nerve actually when you're singing. And so again, not going to get into the vagus nerve right now and how it works and why it's important and polyvagal and everything. You can dig into the courses if you want to do that. But it does have a profound effect on us, and in a right way, in a good way, stimulating that during happy, joyful, declarative words, adding all of those things together is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question.
Yeah, really cool. Okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
Our next question is from Paige.
Hi, Mind Change team. I love the work that you're doing, and I've been so enthralled by learning as much as I can via the YouTube videos, podcast episodes, and book. I feel very limited in doing more to uncover my own limiting beliefs and up-leveling my holistic health because of my own lack of finances. I think I have a very bad relationship with money that has come from my own childhood issues, which I've been able to pinpoint and become more aware of. I'd love to do coaching sessions one day, but still haven't been able to garner the funds to do that. I feel stuck, like I'm in this never-ending cycle of wanting more for myself, but never understanding how to gain the financial resources to get that. What can I do? Is it all about just calming my nervous system down in order to receive abundance? Should I be doing more? What's limiting me? Why am I holding myself back from all the abundance that I know I deserve? Why can't I just conform to the Matrix 9-to-5 job experience? Would love to see any of these questions responded to in an upcoming episode. Love you guys. Thanks so much.
Oh, sweet Paige. I feel your pain. I did the money programs pretty strongly while I was doing chronic illness too at the same time. Fun. So many of the answers to your questions are like in your question, right? Here's the thing I would say. This becomes a loop. Of course it is. All these things loop. So then it's, I don't have the money, so I can't get well. And why don't the people just do it for free? And then it becomes about, which is not actually in alignment, with, people train and they do work hard and this is their job. And so to do it for free is not a good energy exchange. But then people don't see me, care about me, hear about me. And then it goes back into the worth and the value and it just loops. So I totally understand that. My guess is you have the book. Yes, I think the book. Okay, then you have really all the tools you need. I promise you. But part of the abundance program, money program, is about abundance in support as well and about worth and value that has nothing to do with money. So there might be a bit of a relationship with that around self-work too. But you can do this. I don't know if you're a part of the course. Obviously, being a part of the course gives you access to the community where people are doing witness self-work together, which is super helpful. Let's just say you're not, because I'm not exactly sure, and let's just say you've got the book. Okay, so utilize the book for how do you know it's a problem? And you've got some even good stuff. How do I know it's a problem? And are you seeing it? Are you feeling it? And going back to memories of your childhood. More than likely, there are memories that you've built your money programs off of that come from your upbringing. So it's good to do almost like your pain cure list around money. Just do that around money. Set some time aside. What are your beliefs about money? People who have money are what? If I had money, I would have. I don't have money because. These just kind of questions, right? And then pinpoint a handful of like tangible memories. Now remember, memories can be things you heard, things you saw, things you felt. They don't have to just be like a movie clip in your mind. It can just be feelings around that. And then just kind of take it money and start working, use the tools to start changing some of those stories.
Yeah.
I can't go through all the steps here. It would take too long, but it is in the book to do that. And the irony of this sometimes is the first steps for a lot of people in these programs is investing in themselves. That's what I needed to do. I needed to invest in myself when I did not have any money left. We were working jobs where we made very little money. We had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on trying to get me well. We were, in debt, disability. The story was very clear. Like I didn't have the money. And then investing in myself was the first big step.
Yeah.
And then it was the realization that, this is not really about money. It's about worth. It's about value. So you make a statement, I think, about, do I just calm my nervous system down? Well, your nervous system isn't dysregulated for no reason. Like didn't just dysregulate and now you calm it down and money will come to you. There's a story. Money means something. Lots of stories. Money's usually multi-layered. Money, sex, and food. Money, sex, food. They all are really around self-worth and value and self-love. And or love in general, we intermix them when they shouldn't be. So I'd say that would be a great first step. Get a few victories on that and in your self-work, or change the whole thing in your self-work. People have done that before. It's been amazing. If you need some help, if you need some support, you can reach out and, have a session specifically on that. And that kind of helps unravel maybe the work you can do then on your own.
Yeah. And that's why, there's a few things here. That's why we have a lot of different offerings, right? We want people to be able to come in at the level that they feel comfortable at the time. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I would say if everyone always comes into their comfort zone, maybe they're not pushing past their comfort zone, but that's why we have the book, then the workbook. We obviously have these, free podcasts. There's a Jumpstart course that's, $27. There's apprentice sessions, right? Like these are working with people that are training with us, that have been training for a number of years, and they're still in the training process, but it's like quite a bit lower cost, right? So there's a lot of different things there. But one of the things that I would say is at the end, you ask a number of like, why am I holding myself back? Why can't I just, and the why in mind change, it's always going to put you down a rabbit hole. Why this? A conscious rabbit hole. Like why this? Why that? What I would encourage you to ask instead is, how do you know you're holding yourself back? Do you see something? Do you feel something? Do you hear something? What is it like that? Like, how do you know? Or how do you know that you can't conform to the 9 to 5? And it's not about and now this is the epiphany. It's about finding how this is logged in your brain and body, and then work on it. Like, I know because I feel this in my stomach, or I know because I see a picture of whatever. Great. That's what you work on. And then you can start to allow those things to deconstruct and crumble down. And then different belief systems can start to emerge from there. The last thing that I will say is a good friend of mine once told me when I was at a place of like, I want to do this, but I don't know. It's like money and this and that. And he said, when I have made a really uncomfortable decision that is high value, but I've decided to kind of push past and take that like gut level, what I really know I need, even though I don't think in my thinking mind that I'm, worth it or have the money or whatever. He said, I've never looked back and been like, why did I invest in myself so much? Like it always ends up becoming the thing, pushing past the comfort level to actually get what was needed. So
I think it might be interesting to do an online workshop about this too.
That'd be great. All right. Thank you, Paige.
Thanks, Paige.
Next up, we have Tina.
Hi, Heather and Kent. My question is about safe spaces. I've read the Metanoia book, and I've been going through the workbook and doing my individual mind change work as I can. My friend and I also meet regularly and try to discuss and do some work together. My question is, why do I have trouble maintaining a safe space, and what can I do to get past that? I initially wrote and was able to imagine being in a good safe space, but soon that one lost its safety. I could walk into it but not sit down or get comfortable. Then I could walk around the outside but not go in, and eventually it faded away. So I developed a new safe space, and eventually the same thing happened. Since that one, I have not been able to really imagine a new one again, and it's becoming a sticking point. Obviously, the safe space is critical to calming down my body and moving forward. What are your thoughts about that, and what do you recommend? Thanks.
Tina, thank you so much for presenting this question. This has actually come up a number of times, some within course students and client work. Okay, what's really important to understand is that the safe haven, and this is why it's such a vital tool to the mind change process, is you creating safety inside of you. It is sovereign. It's only dependent on you. So I've heard this before where someone will say, I created my safe haven and then bad things came in. And my question is, who brought the bad things in? Who? It is not no one's, my guess is, standing over you like sticking them in or trying to shove them in your ear or in your head. It's you. You're doing this to you. You're not allowing safety. I'm going to make an educated guess here for Tina. Tina, my guess is you use your imagination all the time. You probably what if a lot. What if this happens? And what if that bad thing happens? And what if? And maybe even go out on a limb and say you probably do some catastrophic thinking. Think through all the ways something could go wrong. See into the future and project all of the negative outcomes. That's your imagination, pure imagination. You're using the skill that you were endowed with for good and using it maladaptively. And probably for very good reason. So this is the place, this is so key for this work, is you create the safe haven and then you protect it like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. It's your safety. Your own safety cannot be outsourced to any other person, place, or thing. It just can't. You have to be able to cultivate your own safety if you ever expect to feel it, see it, experience it in the outside world. So create that safe haven, protect it, invest in it, make it better, make it better, make it better. If it's not safe, you did that. So stop it. Stop doing that. That's not smart. That's not good. Do something better for yourself. You stand up for you. So if that negative thought, negative image, negative whatever it is starts coming in, no, that's not, you go over there. I deal with you on something called my pain cure list, and that's where you belong. So no, you stay over there. This is my safe place.
Yeah, I had a client that did this very well, actually. We'd have a safe haven, we'd create it like together. He needed some help with that. Great. It would like, okay, we're like towards the end, everything's really good. And then like something would come in and like, and then we'd have to work through that. And this isn't even like what he was coming in to work on, right? So we're like taking the time, working through that. Okay, now it's safe. Now that's gone. That's, and then finally it would be like, good. Okay, great. And then throughout the week, okay, practice safe haven, practice the things that we worked through, And then you come back and be like, oh, I couldn't do that anymore because this. So yeah, I created another one, or I created a different thing. And that's sometimes running from the internal safety we've already created to just try and stay in alignment with the unsafety that we've been holding on to for a long time. So yeah, I definitely would say it's not necessarily the best thing to jump from safe haven to safe haven. Like you have to learn how to do it in one place. Mm-hmm. Sure, it's okay to have a couple of different ones. It's not a big deal. But if the reason really is because the other one wasn't safe anymore, then there's a running away program. So what ended up happening is like, we were like, in one sense, it just needed to have like more of a protective bubble and more and more and more and all of these different things. Eventually, he got to a place where it was like, oh, okay, now what Heather said about like, if it's unsafe, go put it on your pain cure. We ended up having to do that actually. Mm-hmm. So the things he was bringing into the safe haven, like unintentionally, I ended up like just stopping, not trying to go through the safe haven, just like, okay, that right there. And we were interrupting and moving it and shifting it, like deconstructing whatever the problem was, the fear, the issues, we were dealing with it in the safe haven building so that he could then not be afraid of those things anymore. And of course, all of that is metaphoric, right? Whatever we bring into the safe haven that's scary or not good or fearful or not safe, those are just metaphoric representations of other things that are deeper that we probably would need to work on anyways. So great, we're working on it in the safe haven to actually get something solid. It is actually doing the work anyways, so.
Yeah, no, but that's practitioner work.
Sure,
that's skilled practitioner
yes,
work.
Absolutely.
For those at home doing this on their own, this tells me, Tina, that it's safer to feel unsafe. And there's good reason for that, I'm sure. The thing then you need to do this is where a little bit of discipline comes in. This is a little bit of the mind discipline, the body discipline of saying no, of creating boundaries. Often people who don't have a good relationship with safety actually have a really terrible relationship with boundaries as well. So this is where you start. This is going to be profound change for you. And you're going to do it for yourself. And this is vital to get this piece of it. So create that safe haven, stick in it, make it better, and be disciplined in a loving way with how and what comes in, or, what's allowed in. I'll say it that way. And sometimes we do visuals to help put a bubble around it, or, various things. But I also think if you read in the book about my safe haven, so just so you know, I was like this. This was me. I was like, it was first introduced to me in other work in the EFT world of like happy memory. And I was like, I don't have any of those, so I can't do this. And it really was a negative thing. It had a negative impact on me, and nobody really caught it. And I was just kind of doing this to myself. So that's why later on in the work, when I transitioned out of EFT and everything, I was like, okay, safe haven, and realizing that mine needed to be a made up place in the beginning. It was of my creation. And I am one of those people who could possibly have had a skill in the past of using my imagination for things that weren't helpful. And I repurposed it. And I created this amazing place in my mind, and I guarded it like it was the most valuable place on earth. And as I did that, more started to show up in there, and more started to show up in me. And that's why I put it in there. It was a beautiful process and very important. So you can do this, Tina. You got it. And thank you for presenting this question. I think there's a handful of people out there who do this. So it's so good to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, great. Our next question is from Sammy.
Hello, I am Sammy from Michigan. I have noticed that while doing self-work like journaling or reframing memories, that I feel extra sleepy and my body just wants to take a nap every time that I desire to keep digging or keep rewiring. Is this a form of resistance or something else? And what might my body and mind be trying to communicate to me? And how can I, or even should I, help myself move past these intense bouts of drowsiness? Thank you.
Sammy, thank you so much for your question. And man, this could have been written or spoken from my wife when she started doing this work. So I'm going to let her chime in on this.
Sammy, I see you. I feel you. Okay. When I started doing these things, I will tell you, I was mostly focused on something like the pain cure list. I wasn't really given too many other tools outside of that. So it was something like the pain cure list. And so I set aside an hour a day to work through traumatic memories. And I'd say that first week in, I started doing that narcoleptically, falling asleep. And then waking up suddenly when my alarm would go off for like, it's time to be done with the work. And that was super interesting to me. And I realize now, again, my body was for me. That was new information for me as I was starting to get well, right? And so knowing that my body was for me, it was doing something for me. Is it resistance? Yes. But resistance to us is not a negative thing. It's a positive feedback thing, right? It doesn't always feel positive. So yes, you're experiencing resistance more than likely. So my question to you would be, how much work are you doing on the other things? If we go deep diving into trauma recovery and subconscious programming and traumatic memories, and we're spending so much time doing that, if you're doing it well, there's a lot happening. It takes an enormous amount of brain energy and that's why we know this is working, because it's not just sitting there reading and writing and chatting and doing a few little interrupts to yourself. Like, you can be exhausted, because if you're rewiring subconscious programs, like I said, the amount of energy that takes is enormous. So you need to be balancing it with focusing on the good things and focusing on happy things and the things that are changing, which goes in the smile, the S category of your GPS, and spending time in your safe haven and, elaborating on some of the good things too. And then also giving yourself some time to integrate. Like, this work can change big things really fast. And we often need time to integrate that in and let our subconscious mind go and do all the refiling, all like its little job in there. I almost imagine like this little secretary in there going, we're changing everything. Like, everything needs to be reorganized. And so that happens when we sleep. So we need to be doing some other things too. Depending on what your problem is, we may be needing to move our bodies more. There's a lot of different things. Also, if we start to rewrite our childhood and realize like, oh, I am worthy, I am valuable, I am loved, we need to actually start living it. And so if we're just working on it, but not starting to like allow that to be true in our environment, the buildup is intense and it will knock us up.
Yeah, it's important that as we're going on the greatest hike of our life, that we're not constantly going up the mountain. In fact, the truth is there are no mountains that you just always go up, right? So if we're constantly like, I gotta clear this and deal with this and like, your body gets exhausted, your mind gets exhausted. And so the downhill is important. There's recovery time. Realistically, even prior to going, if we're using this metaphor of like going on a big hike, like there's prep work to that, right? Like you got to get your things in order. You got to make sure your pack's right. You got to make sure you have the right materials. That's really what all of this pre-pain cure list work is, right? The safe haven, the GPS, the manifesto, like where am I going? Am I prepared? All of these things. Let me fill my mind and body with all the good so that when I do the deep dive subconscious work and I'm working on myself, that my body and brain know that like I'm safe, it's going to be okay. There's going to be rest and integration time, so forth.
And really quick, that's why it's very important to make sure you're doing the step of either experiencing the neuro-flip. We talk about this in our courses and everything. It's the change, letting the memory change, right? Oftentimes it'll do it on its own. The memory flip, we call it a neuro-flip.
This is important because you did say in your question, like if I'm journaling or reframing memories. So like we don't do reframing of memories, and maybe it was just the wording, but because then it's still the memory with just a different frame on it.
And it's conscious.
Yeah. And so when we work through the deep stuff, if it's really worked through, if it's really deconstructed, the neural pathways, then your brain will actually not reframe, but it will
change,
rewire and flip to something different there instead. And so if there's like this push, or even if we're doing a lot of like conscious, like this has to change, that can be exhausting too. Right.
So really quick, just practically. So let's say I'm working on a memory of my stepfather and, an abuse memory or something like that. And the abuse stops, right? I'm doing the work and the abuse stops, but he's still like sitting there with this like scowly look on his face. If I'm seeing this, right? I could be hearing it. I could be also feeling it. Then that's not good enough. Like, I don't want that. There's a perception that's going to come with that face so I want to keep doing the work until we get a complete flip. And then what would I have rather had there instead? Like, what would I rather, if he were coming from his highest self and I were coming from my, highest self, what would have happened there instead? That provides the foundation and formation of a little possible baby new neural pathway to happen, where then we start living into that. So we don't want to just start going and bulldozing all of your other neural pathways without creating new, different ways to go, because this is how information travels. So we need to make sure we're doing that in the work as well.
Great question.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one from Stephen.
Hello, this is Stephen from Southern California. What, if any, emotional links have you noticed for the condition dyslexia?
Stephen, you will be happy to hear that this will be a podcast episode next season for our Emotional Drivers podcast. It's a little bit too deep to go into here. Overall, it's a survival mechanism. It depends, right hemisphere, dyslexia, left hemisphere dyslexia. There's more that goes into it. It's, in my experience working with people who do dyslexia, there was some sort of topsy-turvy backward thing that happened in childhood, right? Or in their life, some sort of not safe to see things this way. So it's better to mix them up a little bit. That feels safer. If it's mixed up a little bit, maybe it doesn't mean this, maybe it doesn't mean that, maybe it means something different. It's a protective mechanism done in childhood. Now,
it's also like you said at the beginning, a survival mechanism of like trying to read people, trying to like what's safe, what's not safe, all of that. Again, and for like a little human, they're not actually thinking, what is safe here, right? I mean, there's a lot of things, but it's probably like a 25-minute episode.
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also there's the childhood manifestation. Like if we're
Right.
talking about, if you're asking me, hey, my child is doing dyslexia, we're going to have different drivers than I'm doing it in adulthood. Because what happens is, even though the drivers are similar in childhood, we then retroactively sort of dump back on them and dump forward on them. So oftentimes it looks a little bit different in adult manifestation. Even though some of the drivers can be the same, we don't have complete agency and sovereignty when we're children. So it's a bit of a different story. So we'll thank you for bringing this up. We'll be covering this in an upcoming episode.
For sure. Okay, great. And our final question of the day is from Olivia.
Hi guys, my name's Olivia. I'm from Buffalo, New York. And my question is, what is your guys' perspective on germ theory? Do you guys think that germs make us sick, or is there always an emotional component to us getting sick with something like an infection? And then for things like a cut that got infected or something like that, does that have an emotional component to it? Are you more prone to it in a way because of different traumas you've had in your past? Or is that just that bacteria got in there and it made the cut infected? Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, Olivia, great question. So my question back to you is, are we talking about Robert Koch's germ theory? If we're talking about actual germ theory, then if memory suits me, the first criteria of germ theory is that a microorganism must be present in the diseased, but not in the healthy. I believe that that's first criteria of germ theory. What that would mean is, then if I am carrying something, but I'm asymptomatic, then that actually flies in the face of germ theory. So I don't know how technical we're getting here. Do I believe that germs can make people sick? Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. But germ theory, the host has to be taken into consideration. Now, that's not actually in germ theory, the original, but the host does. That's the trouble people have had with that over the years, is that the host really, the ecology of the host matters most. Oh, that rhymed. I didn't mean it to. So the internal environment of the host. Now, I will say that also genetics make that a bit messy, make germ theory a bit messy, and also epigenetics. Woo, we're really flying outside the box there. So can germs make people sick? Yes, I am not going to be going and bathing in a cesspool of staph infection.
Just because I've really worked on my past and my traumas, right? Like that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm actually wiser than that, right?
Yucky.
In my wisdom.
But okay, staph's a great actually illustration for this, because living in Maui, surfing, or just being in the water in general, there is unfortunately not wonderful stuff in the water sometimes.
Sure.
And it is very frequent that people will end up with staph infection. But you will have let's just say 50 surfers out at Ho'okipa, and 25 of them will end up with cuts, because you do when you surf, because coral, right? And 2 will get staph. They were all exposed to it, and 2 come out with staph. Now, quite likely those 2 that have come out with staph have had it before or will get it again. So it's an interesting, that's where this whole thing breaks down a little bit, by just thinking germs are the cause for disease.
Well, it's the same thing with like the example I always use is like 6 people get into an elevator, one of them is sick, and then within the week, like a couple more of them are sick, but the others aren't. Like, oh, well, maybe they were just in the line of breathing or the proximity, and that really doesn't matter. And so there is something to, or like people fall, and like there's maybe a bunch of people fall in the same kind of way, but like one person breaks their arm, the other person just gets a bruise or whatever. Like what is the deal with that? And so much of it does have to do with the predisposition of what the person's holding. Yes, emotionally, yes, epigenetically, yes, trauma, like whatever you want to call it, there is something there. And listen, when we hold stuff, it does create more stress hormones, right? And we know, and the general population knows, that when someone is stressed, they are more likely to get sick or have problems because their immune levels are more suppressed, right? Because of stress. But then if you really go deeper, so it's a yes and.
Totally.
So it's like, yeah, germs are real and infections are real, and like, let's be clean. And at the same time, interesting if this person seems to get sick a lot, or this person I used to get bronchitis, or I got pneumonia. I actually didn't get pneumonia growing up. This is interesting. It wasn't like I was this sick child. I started getting pneumonia when we got married. And then I got it multiple times a year for years.
Yeah.
Until I did the work. And now like it's so incredibly rare for me to even get a cold. When I used to, it was just a constant of like, of course I'm going to get bronchitis a number of times, pneumonia a couple of times each year. And it's just not there. So again, yes, doing the work definitely enhances. At the same time, if someone's like, I'm not gonna be like, come here, breathe on me, you know.
And Olivia, this isn't your question, but I'm actually so glad you brought this up, because it allows me to say this, is I'm speaking to my mind change community out there. I do feel like there's this little bit of thing that comes along with this of like shame when we get sick. Like if you ever get sick, like, oh my goodness, mind change isn't working because I got sick. Like,
or I'm not doing enough on myself because I'm not doing enough work. There must be stuff there.
Right. Like, no, our bodies are wise. Getting sick once in a while is sometimes I have worked a lot on this, and I rarely ever get sick. But when I have gotten a cold, or I'm doing a cold, I can almost always track that I've been pushing myself too hard and not taking breaks and not resting like I should. And I just overdid it.
And your body's like, well, you're not listening. So
yep. And it does that. And I have a very, very different relationship with that now. I'm grateful. I see it. I'm like, oh, okay. I hear you. I'm getting the message. Thank you. We're in a really different relationship with that now.
Oh my goodness. I totally forgot that I got staph a couple of times, like way before this work. Remember when we went to the river, and we were tubing, and I got this like cut on my shin, and I couldn't even like walk a couple of days later, and we were going to lead that camp and all this stuff. Anyways, so all that, but then I'm in Maui. Of course, this is after doing all this work, and I'm surfing, and I messed up my back and my side and a bunch of times on coral. And like staph was never a thing. It was sometimes in our community and people around me, but like it never happened, right? So someone who had it in the past didn't get it, So yeah, it's definitely possible to overcome.
Because healthy emotions and healthy it's subconscious, healthy nervous system regulation, which comes from subconscious mind reworking. It builds our immune system. But also, our immune system has a relationship with our world. It does, with the microbiome of the world. So I feel like there's wisdom in that at times, wisdom in my body interacting with a new virus or bacteria or microorganism of some sort to kind of bring some in and go, okay, well, what are we going to do with this? Build some immunity here, do some of this, maybe get a little bit of sick, to bring some attention toward it. Yes, and fine, I trust my immune system, I trust my body. Where we start looking for emotional drivers for things is if it's chronic, if it's repeats a lot, or if it's like one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing, then we're going to be like, hey, maybe there's something behind this. Maybe there's a story driving this a little bit. And it just helps us to consider our entire being, which, yeah, you usually can't go wrong with that. So, do we believe in germ theory? Again, not to get super technical, because I don't think Robert Koch fully believed in germ theory, even though he created it, because the first thing is very difficult to get around because people are carriers and asymptomatic. You can have a microorganism in a healthy person that is the same as what they say is causing a disease in another person. That blows the whole thing out of the water. But yes, I do know that germs have an effect on people. So we are not anti-germ, bacteria, virus kind of conspiracy theorists in that way anyway.
Great. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions. And if you have questions, please send them in to podcast@mindchange.com. You can send the audio of your question and then write it out as well, transcribe it. And yeah, on the next Q&R, we will jump on those questions as well.
Yes. Thank you for sending your questions, for interacting, for giving us the feedback that we really enjoy hearing from you guys. So thanks. And thanks everyone who's listening for joining us once again on the Mind Change podcast. If this podcast brought you value, please share it with somebody. Please send it to somebody that you love. Help get the word out. It might really change somebody's life. Even if you're like, meh, send it to somebody else. It really could change their life. And we've seen that happen over and over again. So you could help be a part of that. All right. Thanks again for joining us on the Mind Change podcast, where we are changing the world one mind at a time.